This is a Porsche. This is an SUV. This is a Porsche SUV. This, I have no idea what it is. However, I do know about 11 years ago, the folks down the road, they came up with something called a sport activity vehicle, and for some reason, unbeknownst to me, people with lots of money cannot get enough of these things. So our job today is to take a look at this equation as interpreted von Zuffenhausen. Willkommen in Österreich! Sehr schön, Österreich at that. Now that we got the pleasantries out of the way, I promise you, this is an all-new Cayenne. But there are things about it that are the same as, I can't really say the old Cayenne, let's call it the serial production Cayenne with sort of a square back. The biggest being the propulsion systems are virtually identical. But still, we've got a beautiful road. It's Austria. Let's understand the pulling power, shall we? Holy Austria! This is a wonderful package. Is it significantly different with a slant back, at least from pulling power? I'd have to say no. But there is an incredibly important point we have to cover that relates to pulling power, or pushing power, because it's all-wheel drive, isn't it? And that would be the weight difference. But like anything in life, it's not as straightforward as one would hope. You see, all the engines that are on offer in a sort of square-back serial production Cayenne are the same engines that are on offer in a swoopy-looking Cayenne Coupe. However, if we look at the most basic derivation, the one we're not driving today, it's 81 pounds heavier in Cayenne Coupe form. And the reason is they come with more stuff as a Cayenne Coupe. Now, we'll get to the whole list later, but the biggest difference is a fixed glass roof is fitted as standard, thus heavier. But where things get somewhat confusing is we get to the 2.9S, the one we're driving today. That one, even in Cayenne Coupe form, is 15 pounds lighter. And that's because the mix of stuff that's fitted as standard in the Cayenne Coupe form counteracts the weight difference of that roof. Verstehen Sie das? Yep, looking at that, I'd say it's about that time. Sport Plus, yep, dig a bit deeper, and answer the question. Are there significant differences in the driving dynamics when you graft on a swoopy Arsend on your Cayenne? And the very, very short answer is, not really. I can't honestly tell you that the center of gravity has moved from here to here. If it has, wunderbar, but it really ain't noticeable. What's the old saying? Form follows function. Yeah, in this case, not so much. You see, I was really fortunate to have a conversation with a man who runs the bodies of all SUVs in the entire Porsche world. And he was kind enough to draw this schematic of both a regular Cayenne as well as a Cayenne Coupe and the aerodynamic effects on said bodies. Now, you see, the designers, they had it really in their minds from the outset, I'd like to point out, when they went to this generation of Cayenne, to put on a very swoopy ass end. But the problem with that is you lose one of the inherent design features of any SUV, which is kind of a free spoiler, which creates downforce onto the rear wheels, which is what you want in a performance vehicle. Well, what they did is they kind of re-engineered the functionality back into the form by putting a spoiler here, which is fixed, and another spoiler here, which is active. But unlike the one on that car, it's bigger, so there's more surface area for the air to push down to create that downforce. It comes up at anything above 56 miles an hour, about 5.3 inches. We've already driven 2 of the 3 brake options on offer. This one is fitted with the carbon ceramic rotors, an incredibly expensive option, and I don't know who would buy them for a car like this, because are you really gonna take it to a track? I mean, it works well, but are you really gonna take it to a track? Comments below. And we've driven the coated brakes that's fitted to the turbo. Those work quite well, more about maintenance and longevity. But I'm kind of disappointed because I was really looking forward to driving a Cayenne with a standard fitment brakes and see how they work, especially with this one here. And here's the obvious question. Why am I so curious to drive the base brakes on a fancy car? Is it really important? I would argue it's even more important here because of the weight. So consider this a to be continued. So we already covered the weight difference, and aside from the very reasonable attempt at making a Cayenne look like a tall 911 you could share with your friends, what makes a Cayenne coupe a Cayenne coupe? Well, the answer, it falls into two buckets. There's dimensions and then there's stuff. Let's start with dimensions. Obviously, the roofline is different. It's 20 millimeters lower. The rear track is 18 millimeters wider. Then the shoulders, the area of the body above the rear wheels just below the daylight opening, that's 18 millimeters wider. And then there's the stuff. We already talked about the sunroof, but to that we add sport seats, Sport Chrono package, PASM, 20-inch wheels, and then the seating is for 4, not for 5, although it's optional to have the bench seat in the back. There's more, but those are the biggies. Full disclosure, I don't understand the concept of buying an SUV and having less you. But apparently this has become an incredibly popular craze now that even Porsche has kind of caught on to this whole thing. So let's get into that less you. You're chopping off part of the roof, which means there's going to be less storage space in the back, but it also means there's going to be less storage space for human beings, your friends, or Kumo. Well, apparently the folks in Zuffenhausen have made a change here. So yes, the roof line is lower, but the seat in the back over a serial production Cayenne with the sort of square back is 1.18 inches lower, which means I am 6 foot tall, I am sitting straight up, and there's still this much space. Granted, this car is not fitted with a sunroof, but this is what you got. Now, even with that, I still don't understand this craze, but apparently they sell like hotcakes. And then there's the elephant in the room. So let's put that to the test. As we get into this cute little town here, you and I need to take a vote and send the results back to not just Porsche, but pretty much every major European car manufacturer, because there's a trend going on as of late, and it's not just the number of cup holders, it's the number of USB ports, or at least that's what it used to be yesterday. Now, it's the type of USB ports. This vehicle is fitted with nothing but USB-C, so you have to use the stupid dongle here to connect your phone. Yes, there is a wireless charge plate here, but if your phone is not compatible, you do need to plug it in USB-C. It's also USB-C back here, which annoys the crap out of me because I still have a ridiculous amount of devices that are standard USB or USB 3, whatever you want to call it. So here's a serious question. Do you want standard USB in a vehicle, or USB-C, or a mixture of both, or just go with the ridiculous dongle situation that we've got here? Let me know in the comments below, and I'm really going to compile this and send this back to not just Porsche, but BMW and Mercedes. Vielen Dank. I know what you're thinking right about now. You're looking at this episode and you're saying, wait a minute, he told me all these things come with a sunroof, yet the car you're driving doesn't have a sunroof. What gives? Well, the car we're driving is fitted with something called a lightweight sport package. Actually, it's 3 different packages, and they range from making the air intake grills and the air blades matte black, all the way up to carbon fiber trim of the dashboard, the mirrors, the diffuser, even making the entire roof carbon fiber, thus taking out that glass sunroof. Now, there are really 2 things about this package. Number 1, it brings along the 22-inch wheels, and number 2, it lowers the weight anywhere from 39 to 48 pounds. Now I'm going to throw a question out here. Is that enough weight reduction to call any of these packages lightweight? Okay, before we get too far down this rabbit hole, let's fully engage the sport suspension. Okay, now we can get into this rabbit hole of 2-wheel steer versus 4-wheel steer. The difference in a Cayenne coupe to a standard serial production Cayenne with the sort of box rear end, there is no difference in the steering. However, there is one difference with those 22-inch wheels, which is only on offer in the Cayenne coupe. So there is a difference in the steering between a Cayenne coupe and a serial production sort of boxy Cayenne. The difference is much more pronounced in the high-speed stability. You only notice it on roads like this when you do the back-to-back. I would argue it makes the driving dynamics sharper, but it's like, here's the thing, this is like more like a public service announcement to OEMs that build vehicles like this. if you can equip them with such big wheels, with like the diameter of a wagon wheel, why don't you do me the favor and go ahead and make the all-wheel steering standard? Because at that point, it really shouldn't be optional. Let's bring back Kumo's Austrian cousin and this episode's co-star to demonstrate something rather important. You see that fabric interior? You think it's something historical. In reality, it's the reason why you need the lightweight sport package, because that's the only way you'll get it. And it's aptly named Houndstooth. And oh, by the way, in these parts, he's kind of famous. Caesar, he has his own Instagram. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game and mine, the options game, with today's contestant, neither one of these Porsches, rather a very fancy one, the 2020 Porsche Cayenne S Coupe with a base price of $88,600. May I make a suggestion? Get comfortable because we're going to be here a while. Not one, but two pages of options. First one being an option I put to a vote via Instagram. What color would you choose? Chalk or lava orange? By a 90% margin, you guys chose chalk. I would choose chalk as well. $3,150. And there's my favorite option, the Houndstooth interior, which is free. Well, kind of, sort of, because it has something to do with the next option, which is a package, lightweight sport package. That includes the 22-inch GT wheels, the Alcantara headliner, the Alcantara multifunction steering wheel, which is heated, the carbon fiber trim on the dash, the carbon fiber roof, some of the other trim pieces, Sport Chrono package, and the aforementioned Houndstooth interior, Santa Maria Madre de Dios, $14,400. And move on to the next option, which is also a package, the Performance package, which includes that 3-chamber air ride, very important on these cars, rear axle steer, super important on these cars, Sport exhaust with the black tips on the exhaust system, that is $4,900. Then thermally and noise insulated glass, I don't know why you need this, $1,120, especially when you consider you just paid extra for the exhaust. Don't you want to hear it? Anyway, then there's the 8-speed Tiptronic S with start-stop function. That is $0, as if you have a choice. Then there's the Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. Now, this should not be optional on any Cayenne, but it is at $3,590. Then this one has the Porsche Composite Ceramic Rotors, which is $9,080. Put another way, that's about 10% of the base price of the vehicle. Moving on. Then we go to the Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus, $1,500. Then the LED headlamps, which also includes that dynamic light system that Porsche debuted in the Cayenne, $1,540. Auto dimming mirrors, optional in a $90,000 car, $420. Shall we move on to the next page? Then we go to the Park Assist, $1,200. That includes the surround view, the soft closed doors, $780. The head-up display, which I'd like to point out, is standard on a Hyundai. Kind of around $1,720. Night vision, $2,420. Comfort access. That's the thing that you have in your key, like this here, thing here. This doesn't work with this car, but the thing in the key, open the door and it opens without opening or pressing buttons. That's also standard on most Hyundais. That is $640. Adaptive cruise control, $2,000. Ambient lighting, $490. The adaptive sport seats. This is $1,710, but something to point out, this is not optional on the turbo. Then we move on to the seat heaters, which are optional on a $90,000 car for $1,000. Anyway, let's press on. 4-zone climate control, $990. Smartphone compartment, not the phone and not the connectivity, but the compartment for the phone, $690. And then the last option, the Bose surround sound system for $1,200. Me, I would have gone for the Burmester, which is way more expensive than that. Last, delivery processing handling fee for $1,250, which brings us to a total vehicle price of $146,500 for the mid-level Cayenne Coupe. I suggest you belt in for when we do this with the turbo in 2 episodes from now. So it drives like a Cayenne, which is to say an incredibly good thing, but there is one huge noticeable difference from the minute you get behind the wheel. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, the driving dynamics aren't different. The seating position, at least in the front, ain't different. The power certainly isn't different. That's a really good thing. But you really can't put your finger on it until you're in this thing probably an hour. Or in my case, I went from this back to a regular Cayenne. And it turns out the lower roofline, it changes the entire feel of the Cayenne. It goes from being, it's kind of a very fancy utility vehicle, to almost like my beloved Challenger in that you wear it, you don't drive it.